Hey y'all, it's Chimdi. I want to talk about manifestation. I've talked about it a few times on my channel, and I recently started doing a new manifestation technique, which I've been loving, and I want to share it because I've been experiencing the benefits of it in my life. I've also had a couple of evolutions, shall we say, in terms of how I think about manifestation. So I figured in this video I kind of just cover it all and just give y'all like the latest on how I'm feeling about manifesting and manifestation and how that relates to healing, and also Abraham Hicks, who I don't really rock with in the same way, and I want to talk about why. Before we get into it, thank you Patreon people for being the sexiest people to ever do it, and my subscribers to also being incredibly hot. Like y'all have bone structures that is just truly just blessed, just kissed by God. I'm a creative coach, so if you want to follow my coaching Instagram, it's coaching by Chimdi, and I'm back to doing my newsletter, which I'm really excited about. So you can go ahead and sign up for it in the link in the description box. All that being said, let's get into it. I've read the actual Law of Attraction books, which I found to be really illuminating, but I would always kind of be bothered by like the Q&As that you can find online where people have questions for Abraham Hicks and Esther Hicks channels, the responses and stuff. The process, if we were gonna sum it up, is very much to let your thoughts be your guideposts. And if you're having a thought that makes you feel anxious or scared or sad or whatever else, you know that that thought isn't in alignment with your higher self. And it's not in alignment with your true self, which is this version of you that's like incredible and beautiful and talented and skilled and all these great things. That version of you has nothing but lovely, kind, beautiful things to say about you. So you know if you've got a thought that's out of alignment with that and it's making you feel bad, that thought is not coming from your higher self, so you need to disavow that thought, move away from that thought, and get back into alignment. Start going downstream again, where the love and the light is flowing and allowing you to go on your path. And I think the reason why so many people have questions again and again and again and really struggle with it is because I don't think that approach really gets to the root of things, which is where the energy that creates those thoughts come from. And I actually touched on this a bit in my recent creative workshop. I did a workshop called Creative Freedom and Procrastination, Unblocking Your Productivity. And in it, I really got into what I think is the root cause of creative procrastination, which is that we have this trauma, we have this energy stored in our bodies. And that energy, when the light comes in, when the inspiration comes in, when the good ideas come in, when the creative ideas come in, instead of being able to like turn itself into something tangible and real in our world that we can look at and see and watch and hold, it hits all this stored energy, this stored trauma that blocks it, and that energy bounces back up into our mind and creates all these thoughts. And so I think what's missing with the Abraham Hicks stuff is the trauma healing piece. We've got all of these experiences in our life that told us that actually we are not these great, beautiful, wonderful, talented humans, and we've stored that in our bodies. When we have ideas and we want to do things in the world, it's hitting that stuff. So I don't think the thoughts are sort of coming out of nowhere. I think the thoughts come from this energy that we may not be conscious of, and then it can be this process of blaming ourselves. If we find that we aren't manifesting things in our life using the Abraham Hicks method, we say, oh, there's something wrong with me. I'm not doing it right. I'm not doing it hard enough. We find fault in ourselves instead of finding grace with ourselves. It just leads people into a lot of suffering that isn't necessary if they knew about what I think is the truth of trauma healing, which is that it's only through that process of sort of clearing the channels that we even get to the point where we're able to create these things in our life. And I was just at a silent retreat with the Thomas Hubel, of course. This silent retreat included Q&As, so it wasn't a non-stop silent retreat. And he said something during one of the Q&As that he said before, but this time it really struck me. I saw a clear relationship to the world of manifestation, which is that if you think about a projector on a wall, the way a projector works is you have light coming in and then it hits a structure, it hits the actual like film or whatever. The light goes through the film and then it projects an image onto a wall. And he was saying how some people, they go and they scratch on the wall to try to change the image. And that to me is what some of these different manifestation techniques look like that are about trying to do stuff in the world. It's about scratching at the wall versus what he suggests, which is actually go back to the actual projector and the image, the structure itself. And then even one step further, go back to the light and the actual source. And what I think trauma healing does is, one, it allows you to be present with the structure itself that you can't even see. Like, there's so much stuff that we do in our life that we're just not even conscious we're doing it. It's only until we have an insight or revelation or someone points it out to us in therapy that we realize, like, oh wait, I have this pattern that I didn't even realize I was doing it because I'm so attached to it. So that's what it looks like to actually kind of deal with the structures of our life that create these images in our wall and create our relationships and create our jobs and create our opportunities and create our life. But then the step further is to actually go to the source of light, which God, the divine, goddess, the universe, whatever term you want to use. What I love about trauma healing is trauma healing actually, through things like meditation, allow you to go back to that source of light. And if you are a camera person, you'd understand the metaphor of changing the aperture. So actually changing how much light is even able to be accessed into your body. And then of course the structures that it hits such that your life then changes. This is woo-woo, so I'm gonna share it with you because I feel like if you're watching this, you are already team woo-woo. So something that is relatively new to me, I think, yeah, I'm sure I haven't heard of this before, is this thing called toning. So if you listen to different music, like alpha wave music, all that kind of music with like the different tones, apparently they're correlated to our chakras and stuff. Listen, I don't know how none of this works for real. One thing that we do as a part of the program is Thomas will tone for us. So he'll like create these sounds basically. And then we as a group will do this thing where we'll like hum, and then we will like expand our own voices so that like we become this choir. If y'all know Jacob Collier, he does these things called audience choirs. So cool. And someone asked a question about the toning to Thomas, like,
what is it that you are doing?
And what he says is that he essentially connects to like this higher level, and then he brings like the insight and the wisdom of the knowledge and translates it into like vocal cords, which is also manifestation itself, etc., etc., etc. And so what he does and what we do when we are together is, as a group, we're able to access this higher level of energy and insight and then bring that light down into us. But the light can only become manifest through our bodies. So if we have a bunch of trauma in our bodies, we can be doing that all day long and not see any difference in our life, because when it comes time to actually speak about what it is that we want to create in the world, actually reach out to people to start planning it, actually raise the money to make it happen, all the different things that need to happen in our physical world, if we have a bunch of stuff blocking that, it's not going to come into reality. And that was really helpful for me, because I think, like I said, a tendency to really blame yourself if you are doing all of the right things in the spiritual world around manifestation and you're not seeing any results. To me, like, the main way to manifest is to heal your trauma. Like, it's just like, that's the way to do it, because the light is always flowing, inspiration is always flowing, love is always flowing, opportunities are always flowing. It's all here. It's just, do you have the capacity and do you have the vessel to actually handle all that life wants to course through you? One thing that came up during the retreat as well was about the way, I know for me, sometimes you want to skip some of the process. And I know for me, for instance, with my creative coaching business, I actually kind of listened to some of my older affirmations, and it was about having like 15 clients in a month and all these like really expansive, big business scaling kinds of things. But when I really settled into it and thought about it, I don't have the physical infrastructure in terms of assistance and this and that to even help me manage that. And I know in my body, I don't have the structure, the nervous system to handle having that many one-on-one clients. And so we can want these things in our life, but if we don't actually have the vessel that'll support getting those things and making them real, it would overwhelm our system. It would short our fuses, we wouldn't be able to handle all of that energy. I had a friend and she gave me the best business advice, and I am so grateful for it. And she said, make sure you build a business that's aligned with your nervous system. And I know for me, I used to approach all areas of my life from this place of biting off way more than I could chew, essentially. Even in the workshop I did, I truly just had this idea. I was like, ooh, I'm gonna do this workshop. And so I made a post here on YouTube. People were like, sure. And I was like, cool. And what I found is that it was it wasn't aligned. My nervous system wasn't aligned for it. Like I was staying up super late working on it. It was taking up more of my energy and I didn't actually have the vessel for it. And then even in the workshop itself, supposed to be an hour, ended up being 2.5 hours. I was only gonna do live coaching for 2 people, ended up doing it for 6 people. I didn't have the resources to say no, because there's still areas of my system around people pleasing where it was like, I wanna help every single person and I don't wanna turn anyone away, and feeling like a guilt and feeling a shame and feeling like, well, if I can help someone, I have to help someone. That's the kind of stuff where if now doing a free workshop for 30 people and I'm not able to have an aligned nervous system where I'm able to say no and keep my boundaries, if I can't do that now, it would only be way worse if now it was 100 people or 200 people. When we think about these things that we're manifesting into our life, Thomas will often refer to God as like the supreme intelligence. There is a wisdom behind what comes into our life and what doesn't come into our life, or what hasn't come into our life yet. And I think a big part of it is like, do we have a vessel that actually supports that life and that light and that energy actually being hosted? And with all that being said, I want to share a manifestation technique that I have really been enjoying and loving. And originally I wanted to share it once I had a bunch of money. I feel like when it comes to manifestation, the sexiest things are like,
I got $10,000 in 2 days.
Or it's like,
I got a whole husband.
and so part of me was like, oh, I should wait until I have like really sexy markers of this technique working before sharing it. And I have some, but I realized like I love it and it's great and I'm making this video and it could help people, so let me go ahead and share it with you. The technique is a combination of present day journaling, I think is what it's called. There's a term for like when you write about something as if it's happening right now. So you're writing about the relationship or the money or whatever else that you want in your life as if it happened, like, oh, I just got blah blah blah, and you're talking about it like it just happened. And it's a combination of voice notes, and this is where I think the magic sauce is. So if you know me, you know I love a voice note. I had a whole podcast, which there will not be a season 2 of. I think I'll make a separate video about why I'm not doing a season 2 of my podcast. What I did for this manifestation technique is I outlined like 6 different areas of my life. So coaching, YouTube, relationships, spirituality, like all these different areas of my life. And I wrote down the different things that I wanted. And then I sent a voice note to myself as if I was sending a voice note to one of my friends, as if it had just happened to me. I recorded it on my phone and it's me at like full excitement, like,
I just got this client. I'm so freaking excited. I'm like and she's like totally perfect. It's like God picked this client out for me and she paid in full. Listen.
Very high energy. And I did that for all of these different areas in my life. And then every morning I would start my morning listening to these voice notes. So instead of like reading affirmations or just saying affirmations, I would actually hear myself and I would say it along with myself. I did end up getting a client who paid in full, who was awesome and still is awesome. I do send voice notes to my friends. And so when that happened, I sent a voice note to my friend. And as I was sending it, I was like, it was that like mind meld matrix, like,
Whoa.
moment. Because the voice note I was sending was exactly the same as the voice note I had been listening to. So that was like very freaky. It was very cool. And then the other voice note that I sent to myself was about my environment. So I used to have this belief system that Maryland sucked. And everything cool happened everywhere else. So I had to travel to Lisbon. I had to travel to Japan. I had to move to New York. I had to move to LA. Like basically cool stuff and interesting stuff and exciting stuff was far away from me and I had to physically travel to get there. And so I created a voice note for myself where I was just like, God, thank you so much that I live a life where all of these beautiful experiences and relationships and parties and brunches are happening right here where I am. And I don't have to travel. I don't have to get on a plane, on a train, or an automobile. I can just, like, it's all happening at my doorstep. Following this really beautiful silent retreat, I came back to my home, to my neighborhood, and I was walking around. Oh my gosh. So in it, I included things like hikes and things like that, right? I come back to my home. I'm walking in my neighborhood. I come to this foresty area that I had been to before and had never actually wandered into it. Like I did it a little bit, but not really. And then I see this sign for trails that I'd also read before, but this was the first time I was like,
oh wait, trails.
and I actually started walking one of the trails and I was like, Oh, there's a whole ass trail system in my neighborhood at my doorstep. I don't have to travel. I used to live in LA, and I loved LA, and I loved it for Griffith Park and all the nature, and I loved the hikes. And I felt in that moment, God was like,
Yeah, girl, you don't have to do none of that.
and in that moment where I was like, I walked here, that I realized like, oh wait, that thing that I've been affirming about all of these gifts and blessings being right here at my doorstep, it has become a reality. Manifestation and all these tips and techniques and things, they point us in the direction of what we need to do in our life, the actions we need to take in our life in order to allow those things to come in. That trail system was always there. I needed to heal a bunch of my trauma so that I wouldn't feel scared to be alone by myself in the woods, so that I could be like,
Oh, I'm feeling spontaneous.
let me go see what happens if I go into this wooded area, you know, in my flip-flops. What I do is there is a dope toning. I'm gonna put it in the description box if you wanna listen to it, that involves like Thomas Hubel doing the toning and then like an audience full of people like doing the like voices singing thing. It's so cool. I weep every single time I listen to it. I listen to that, which to me is me like opening the like channels to my higher self. Then I'll sit in meditation for 20, 30, 45 minutes, connecting and clearing and weeping and doing all of my stuff. And then I'll listen to my morning affirmations, present day affirmations. And then from that space, what is the action that I feel aligned to take? Is it that I want to record a YouTube video right now? Is it that I want to go for a walk? Do I want to do some journaling? Do I want to read? Like whatever it is, I then take action that's inspired by this feeling I have very consistently after doing all these things, which is one of gratitude and hope and joy and support and like being held and all these really beautiful feelings, being inspired and feeling like, oh, it's possible, you know, like if I keep going, if I take one step in the right direction,
All of my dreams are gonna come true.
I just want to share that with you. If you're someone who is an Abraham Hicks fan or has had some troubles and some challenges with it, there's nothing wrong with you if all the things that you want in your life aren't coming true. And there are like specific things you can do so that you can bring in more of that light. And just to bring awareness when you are moving in the world, like, is it that you're scratching at the wall trying to change the image, or are you actually going back to the projector, changing the structure, and are you actually going back to the light, and are you expanding how much light is coming into your life in the first place? Let me know in the comments which of this resonated. Did any of it resonate? And if you want to actually buy the workshop that I talked about, the 2.5 hour workshop, I'll leave a link below. It was very powerful. I'm thinking about including one of the processes I did with one of the women, because there was so much weeping, y'all, which you know is my marker of success. If you want to follow me on my coaching Instagram, it's @coachingbychimdi. Subscribe if you want to join the fam, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Bye.